Hello everybody, it's Tim here again, here with the next Friday the 13th commentary. Now we're up to Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. So, if this is your first commentary with me or whatever, or first video, then I'll just go ahead and say it. You can set your timestamp to 0, and we will count down by going 3, 2, 1, pressing play, now. Ooh boy, here comes the Paramount logo for Big Daddy Part 5. If you're watching at home with me with these commentaries, then I hope you're having fun with them. But yeah, here we are with Friday the 13th Part 5. We got our Corey Feldman cameo here at the beginning of this. I heard this opening sequence was actually shot in like Corey's backyard, I believe, according to the director, or Corey Feldman himself, maybe. I know I heard it on a commentary. And they had like a rain machine going on. They probably even have a double of Corey for some of these shots or whatever, where you don't see the character's face. It's cool if they got Corey Feldman back for just the opening sequence, although it would have been cooler if it was Corey Feldman for the whole movie. But it's cool that they got him back for the opening, but he was busy filming, of course, Goonies at this time. Now, Friday the 13th Part 5, it's a very interesting movie because it polarizes the fans. People either really hate this one or they seem to really love it. Like, it has a cult following, despite that, truthfully, I want to say this movie's not very good. It has some good moments, it has some good parts, but I think that the film is both over-hated on from the hardcore fans, but I also think that the film is way overpraised by the people who seem to love this one. And I'm not saying that if you hate it or love it in those kinds of ways or whatever that you're wrong, you're not. But in my personal opinion, this film really never falls into either of those categories. It's just kind of okay. To me, this would be another low 2-star Friday the 13th film, similar to Part 3. And I think Part 3 is better than this one. In my opinion, this is one of the weakest Fridays. It's not the weakest one, but it is one of the weakest. I think Part 8 is a worse movie than this in terms of writing, but at the same time, I have more fun with Part 8. We'll get to that one when we get there. Just for the stupid factor of Part 8. But yeah, I do think this is one of the worst, but I don't think there's any absolute terrible Friday the 13th movie because it's such a simple formula and such a simple like a style of slasher movie that there's really no way you could make like an absolute completely terrible Friday the 13th movie for me unless you just do something completely catastrophically awful. Like Jason has like a shark head or something. And there's no kills like at all. But this one it's not a good Friday the 13th movie. It's not. It's not just because Jason isn't the killer at the end of the movie. Like there's just so many like bad writing spots in this. This goes for much more of a sleazy, low budget B movie feel, more so than any of the other ones. This is a very trashy film. I do think that if you watch this film like not as a Friday the 13th movie and just as like a slasher movie, if you enjoy those sleazy, trashy like B movie type feeling movies, and all the rest of the Friday the 13th movies are pretty much B movies as well, but this has much more of those B movie trappings than those other ones. But yeah, if you enjoy like trashy like slasher movie entertainment, I do think this is serviceable. I think that this is probably a good, entertaining slasher, trashy type movie in that vein. If you like those types of movies, almost closer to like a trauma film, really, in some ways. Even Part 8 gets closer to like a trauma film too, with the whole sewers flooding with toxic waste. But yeah, in that kind of vein or whatever, taken by itself, it is kind of entertaining. But as a Friday the 13th sequel, especially after the huge high of Part 4, this is a major come down. This opening sequence is cool though, where Jason like comes up out of the grave and is like shanks everybody and all that. Of course, you do get the kind of the vibe or whatever that this probably is a dream sequence, but it's still well shot and well handled. And Jason's look here, he looks good, he looks fine. Oh shit, he's coming for Corey Feldman. But yeah, some people may say that this just hits the basic notes of a Friday the 13th movie regardless, because there's a guy in a hockey mask killing people in over the top ways or whatever. But The difference between this movie and most of the other like really good Fridays is that those movies keep like a fun summer camp like woodsy vibe and all that, and they keep a fun vibe. This film it has more of a trashy, and it also has a dull vibe because the kills are really watered down in this. There's maybe one or two memorable ones, but the MPAA really slaughtered this film in terms of like hacking the kills down. So this film just doesn't have a lot of that fun element that those first four had, especially part 1, 2, and 4. And the murder mystery here also extremely weakens the movie because it's very piss poorly written. We got the new Tommy here in, I think, what's the actor's name again? I'm trying to remember. John Shepard, maybe. But, yeah, I think he's good in this. Actually, I don't mind him. I think he's fine here. I think he works for the movie because this is what Tommy would most likely be like at this point. Of course, we got the dude there reading a porno mag, which is pretty damn funny, but at the same time, it really enforces like the trashy feel of this one. Danny Steinman, you can tell from like interviews and stuff, and even the commentary he did for this movie that he's an extremely funny individual that doesn't really take his stuff seriously. But at the same time, no, you can tell that he's much more of like a exploitation, trashy director, uh, more so than what these movies were really like up until this point. I like that zoom through the mask. I also like that the Jason mask in this has the blue like triangles on it to show the differences. I mean, differentiate. I mean, between the regular Jason mask and the imposter Jason mask. That is cool. Also, I think the score in this movie is fine, and the pseudo echo band that's in this that does the song "His Eyes" eventually that we get to. That's also a really cool song, and it works perfect for the movie. I believe it was actually picked up by the actress Tiffany Helm, who plays the goth new wave violent chick in this. She's actually the daughter of the chick who played Kristen's mom in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. That's pretty cool. Music by Harry Manfredini again. That's cool. Yeah, Friday 13th Part 4 made a shitload of money, so there was no way they weren't going to make another one. Too profitable to resist. This movie really is just kind of like, even though I don't hate it, it really is kind of like the wrong direction for the series. If you truthfully wanted to, you could easily skip over this film and go straight to number 6. At the same time, though, me as the completest person I am, I wouldn't do that. But I'm saying if you wanted to, you could easily. But look in the Pinehurst. One thing they never specify is like, is the Pinehurst Institution actually around Crystal Lake? Like, I never say for sure, but I'm just going to assume it is, just to keep the movies all in the Crystal Lake area, and also because everybody here seems to know who Jason is, so I have to feel that it's in the same exact town. I mean, the true answer is that when they were writing the film, just like nobody cared, and they just wrote it on there or whatever. Because the Friday 13th movies were written like extremely fast, and they're just meant to be popcorn flicks, and that's what I enjoy about them. That's why it's probably my favorite horror franchise, just in terms of thrills and all that. Even though I think A Nightmare on Elm Street is probably the best written and best quality wise horror franchise as a whole. Oh, here comes Pam. I think this actress's name is Melanie Kennerman. I could be wrong, but yeah, she looks good here. And of course, the dude who runs the halfway house, he has a distinctive look as an actor. Like he's the dude from Indiana Jones, the one with Sean Connery, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, who inspired Indiana Jones's look. But yeah, you get like a real hippie like vibe off this dude, where it's like this. He's trying to run the mental institution as like a hippie, free spirit type place and all that. And boy, does it blow up in his face. It does kind of make you wonder like what happened to his sister or whatever, Trish. I assume that she probably just kept visiting him and all that, and eventually she had to like move on with her life and everything, and that she probably does still keep in touch with the character in some way, shape, or form. But at the same time, though, they couldn't really have the Trish character here because she would be too old by this point. They want to keep it in the demographic of having like teenagers and stuff like that as the focus. Here we have our mom and Trish and Gordon cameo from a picture. It's probably like a production still or something from the fourth movie. Of course, the hippie dude didn't even bother having Tommy searched when he came in there, so he's packing a knife. Wonder if that will be useful later. But they actually wanted, I believe the actor's name is John Shepard, back as Tommy Jarvis for part 6, but he'd become like a born again Christian at the time, I think, and didn't want to do these types of movies or whatever. Um, which, I mean, that's his personal choice. It's whatever he felt like. But at the same time, though, I think Tom Matthews works better in part 6. It's hard for me to imagine this actor in that movie. And of course, here we have Reggie the Reckless, played by Shavar Ross. I actually like him in this film. I think he adds a good entertainment value here. I like that they carry over Tommy making masks too from part 4. That's cool. The director Danny Steinman has actually done some other films I didn't mind. Um, he did work on what was that one? Savage Streets with Linda Blair. It's like an exploitation revenge movie with Linda Blair. Her sister, or whatever, gets raped. I think about this like gang of punks. Definitely an '80s influenced exploitation type movie. But yeah, he's good in those types of movies. His style just doesn't really fit Friday the 13th. And I do think that he was probably a mistake as a director to hire for this movie. His style is just it doesn't truly fit Friday. It works better in its own in a different type of movie. Which Friday the 13th, like all slasher films, have that exploitation element, but he makes that like the entire core of the movie, like everything of the film, because it's so much of his style. And I think it just kind of overtakes the movie in a lot of places. And for some people, that will make the movie more fun for them because they like that particular type of style. And that's cool. For me personally, I don't think this film feels Friday enough. Even part 6 that goes more for the zombie Jason thing, it still feels more in line with a Friday 13th movie than this film does. But at the same time, this film is not like totally removed or whatever from the franchise's style and all that. It still feels close enough to a Friday film to where it can fit in the franchise. But at the same time, though, it feels too far removed for me to really have that like real Friday feel. It just feels too much like a trashy exploitation flick, more so than what a Friday 13th movie goes for. Ah, we got Debbie Sue Voorhees. I always thought the actor who plays the sheriff here is kind of cool. I believe he's supposed to be the sheriff. Named Tucker, I think's the character's name. But I'm sure this guy's done other stuff. Oh baby, we got Ethel. Oh baby, we got Ethel and Junior here now going. Ethel and Junior characters actually don't mind for some comedy relief at the beginning of this movie, but later on in the movie, I do kind of feel like they start to like overstay their welcome because they're like such stereotypes. It starts to be a lot like extremist versions of Cousin Eddie from Vacation. I do like it when she gives the sheriff the finger, though. Oh boy, here comes Joey with the chocolate. I believe this actor Joey right here also had a small scene in What's Bitten as well. He was trying to get ice cream off of Jim Carrey. Oh, here's Violet, the hot new wave chick. Makes you wonder, like, what are all these people even doing in this halfway house? Because some of them seem fine. Joey, you fucked up the laundry. Your penalty is death. Of course, this actor, I believe his name is Mark Venturini. He's passed away since then, since this movie. But he was also Suicide in Return of the Living Dead, which is a masterpiece. He just, this fat dude just does not take the hint. He doesn't want the chocolate, man. He prefers vanilla. Well, this is rude. He didn't have to axe the chocolate. Oh shit, it's on now. I like the up close at the top of the ambulance or whatever, or the paramedic vehicle. It reminds me of like the opening of Naked Gun movies. All this over a piece of chocolate. This entire movie, the conflict of this entire film, starts because a dude didn't want chocolate. That's amazing. Chocolate really does kill. Of course, when you know that this movie is a murder mystery and you go into it, who the killer is extremely friggin' obvious. It would have been way smarter if they would have just made the killer at the end, not the paramedic dude named Roy, but if they would have just made the killer Tommy and have it be like a split personality thing, where he actually thought he was Jason, but he wasn't. That would have been a lot of fun, and I think would have paid off much more dramatically by the end of the film. Like if he discovered he was the killer by the end, and he thought Jason was killing everybody, but it was secretly him, and at the end of the movie, he then accepted who he was, thus paving the way for him to be the killer in all the future movies. That would have made more sense for the direction they're going in, or trying to go in with this movie. But of course, Roy and Roy's motivation in this are just retarded because it makes not much. It doesn't make any sense at all, really. He knew his fat son was like living at this halfway house, and instead of ever going there to protect him or to do anything for him, he just lets him stay there. So he's a deadbeat dad, and then he just randomly gets killed over chocolate, and then he decides to go on a killing spree because of that by trying to cover it up by mimicking Jason. Or is Roy actually crazy and he thinks he's Jason? The movie never really specifies. Yeah, the logic in this one, boo boy. Here we got two 50s greasers that randomly showed up. Of course, the big joke on the internet is that these two are probably secretly gay or whatever. I don't think that's actually implied by the movie, but yeah, they look like they're way out of place here in terms of the fashion they're rocking. And so the one dude has to randomly take a shit, so he has to walk like a whole shit long of a way into the woods just to take a random shit. I do like the idea of this road flare and the mouth kill right here, but it would have been cooler if they would have had a sequence where like the eyes like popped out of the head or something or exploded with fire. But maybe that was like out of budget range or something, but that would have been cool. I actually think they might have had an idea for something like that, but it got cut down by the MPAA. Once again, if these scenes can be found, I'm not sure why there hasn't been like an underrated version of like all these films or whatever. Except for like part 7, because I heard the unrated footage got completely lost for that one or whatever. It wasn't stored right, so it ended up getting destroyed. But even some people would deal with like a lower quality version probably just to have those sequences put back into the movie. Which they've done that with some other films as well. Scream Factory has taken lower resolution like copies of scenes and stuff like that and put them back into the movies or certain movies to make the unrated cuts or whatever or extended cuts. And so I'm not sure why they didn't do that for some of these Fridays. I think that would have been understandable for part 7. just specifically for the kill scenes. I like the road flare to the mouth. That's an okay kill. He took a shit in the woods. Did he wipe? And must have used a leaf. Oh, of course, we also had the jump scare rabbit scene while the dude was walking into the woods. We've had the jump scare cat so much, which I also think makes a return in this movie. That cat got a lot of work in Hollywood, and I believe he still continues to get work to this day. I do kind of like the slickness of this throat slash or whatever with the killer hiding behind the back seat. Sometimes like the simple type kill does work for me. I don't need like really over the top gore all the time. I like this idea of like Tommy having like hallucinations of Jason. That's kind of cool. The one chick in this, who plays the character that gets asked out by the stuttering dude or whatever that like turns him down and all that, kind of laughs at him, which kind of makes her an asshole. But that chick or whatever who's in this, I think the actress's name might be Juliet Cummings. I could be wrong, but she was also in Psycho 3. She got killed in the phone booth by Norman Bates, and she was also in Slumber Party Massacre Part 2. She shows off her rack in that, as well as showing off her rack in this, as well as showing off her rack in Psycho 3, which, yeah, it's a small rack, but it still looks good. I'd still go for it. I like all shapes and sizes, baby. Although at this point, it would have been cool if they could have got Tiffany Helm naked in this one. Because she's pretty hot as the goth new wave chick. But Debussy Voorhees has the rack to end all racks in this movie. Oh shit, inspiration for Indiana Jones in the house, baby. This actor has a distinct look with like the scar on the side of his face or whatever. I always figured that he could have went on to like do other stuff or whatever just with the look that he has. I'm not sure if he did. I don't really think I've seen him in anything else besides this movie and Indiana Jones. But maybe he has. I'm sure he's done some other small stuff here and there. I love Tommy's random judo moves he breaks out in this movie when he just flies off and beats the shit out of people. That is hilarious. That is some funny shit. Now that's some comedy I can get behind. And here it comes, baby. Fucking with Tommy's masks like it end well. And now he's punching him too. Oh shit! Man, John Shepard's like, as Tommy beating the fuck out of that dude. And we're back to Ethel. And Wither is Junior. Of course, here we have a character introduced specifically just for like a kill as a red herring. This guy really amounts to nothing, which it hurts this film even more than some of the other ones where they have characters introduced only for a kill, because they're also trying to have him there for the mystery, and the mystery in this movie, like I've said before, is handled so piss poor. Really makes you wonder who Junior's dad was. You talking to me, Sheriff? If that doesn't give away that Roy is the killer, I really don't know what is, or what does. And then Roy still looks close to the camera. Here we go with another two pointless kills that have no connection to the main group of people, and Roy never goes after the guy who actually killed his son. Which, of course, but I'm sure that the guy who actually killed his son may have, I don't know if he was probably sent off to some institution where he was put in a straitjacket or something. But you would think Roy would then go target that place to get him instead of this other place that he used to be at. This chick that plays Lana here also has a nice rack as well, that we will see in a few minutes. And she's way too hot for this dude. Oh, here they come, baby. Damn, those look good. Oh shit, he brought the drugs, I mean. Even imposter Jason doesn't approve of the drugs. I believe this is when we get Jump Scare Cat. I'm not sure if he showed up yet or if he's about to. Oh no, he's about to show up. There's Jump Scare Cat. Oh shit. See, the way that sequence was edited when he got hit in the head, it was put together very TV movie style, and just the lighting in this sequence looks like something you would see on like a USA made for TV movie at the time. Or even in like the early 90s, like 1990. Yeah, this movie has very like made for TV cinematography to it at certain spots. And the cinematography for her kill right here coming up, the blonde, it looks very made for TV as well. Like this film is way less professional than the Joseph Zito one of the last movie. In terms of just like in terms of the look of production values and everything, it just looks lesser. Like this whole red lighting and stuff like that right here, and the way this is lit, it looks like something that's made for TV. And the pullback on like the axe going through her into her chest or whatever, it fades away like super quickly into the next sequence. Very made for TV and feels edited for TV. And part of that's the MPAA, of course, who toned all the kills down by cutting them up or having them cut up. I like this hallucination of Jason right here, though. I do like the idea that this movie, though, does stick with the idea that Jason is actually dead, because Part 4 was meant to be the final chapter or whatever. Or not so, well, the final chapter of Jason, anyway. But, I like the idea of it, though, that, that they stick to their guns and they keep Jason actually dead here. But I maintain this movie could have worked if the killer would have just been Tommy with a split personality. I think that would have even helped the murder mystery plot if the killer would have just been Tommy with a split personality as well. Oh shit, it's the mayor. Of course, the sheriff is telling the mayor the killer is Jason Voorhees, a supernatural undead killing machine. And of course, the mayor says, this smells like bullshit because, well, I don't believe in zombies, so. It's amazing to me that he thought the mayor would just go with this idea. I thought the idea here that Jason was cremated, but of course, the movie never specifies for sure if Jason was actually cremated or not. But it does beg the question, like, why would the mayor not know that? Because after all, he is the friggin' mayor. Here goes the ashtray. Wha-bam! Coming up the Debbie Sue big titty scene. Or ginormous titty scene, I should say. This guy's trying to get some off Debbie Sue Voorhees. I mean, I can't say I blame the dude, although his character comes off extremely obnoxious as all hell. Of course, here we got the death of the random drifter guy. Who's being a perv, so he has to die. Oh shit, he just got shanked. Hot damn, that's a huge rack. I do like the implication of the kill with the hedge clippers, that's pretty cool. This guy got to have Debbie Sue Voorhees' massive rack pressed against him, so he should feel honored before his death. Oh shit. Roy's got a big stick and he's twisting it around this dude's head. Well, he's using the stick to twist the leather strap around the dude's head. Which I like that death as well. That's a cool idea for a kill. Some of these characters just like randomly disappear from the movie, like Gramps and the dude who runs the halfway house, the hippie dude. And then they just like show up later as dead bodies. They had so many characters that the films are trying to up the body count so much in terms of the exploitation feel, because that's just what Danny Steinman's going for. That they just start making people just disappear and just killing them off screen. So if you do like the Friday 13th films just for the death sequences, just by numbers, this film should be good for you because it just has more. Even though most of the kills are pretty watered down, in my opinion. I like how the trailer park just has a neon sign up that actually says trailer park. Of course, here we got Miguel Nunez Jr. here, who is also in Return of the Living Dead as Spider, which Return of the Living Dead is a zombie masterpiece. That's a film I do want to do a commentary for at some point. But yeah, Miguel Nunez, he's always had like a fun presence in movies and stuff. I think Miguel Nunez is really like a fun presence in movies. He's a fun presence here as well. It would have been cool if he was in more of this film. Also liked him in that silly ass Van Damme Street Fighter adaptation. That was funny shit too. We got some more Tommy Jarvis ninja moves coming up. Better watch your ass, Junior. He's punching him again, punching Tommy again. We know what this led to last time. Oh, Junior, you're fucked, man. Ninja time. Maybe when Tommy was like in other crazy houses and stuff, he just like spent the whole time watching reruns of the Karate Kid and shit and mimicking the moves. Tommy wins. Fatality. You can look around here and you see a couple other like trailers and stuff here. So it makes you think: are there more? There's obviously, I mean, meant to be more people living around this area here at this trailer park. So Roy shows up coincidentally. There's like nobody else like hanging out outside or whatever. They're all like everybody else is asleep. And he just specifically targets the character Demon here, played by Miguel Nunez, and his girlfriend, just because they randomly happen to be related to Reggie the Reckless. Like the logic here is so retarded. But it's still funny as shit when Miguel Nunez like runs to take a shit and starts singing on the shitter. You're gonna die on the shitter, Demon. It is pretty exciting. I'm about to finish off commentaries for all the first five Friday 13th movies. Five down, still got like six or seven to go. Miguel Nunez's girlfriend in this movie wasn't bad looking either, but now, of course, she's dead with a slit throat. Oh, can you imagine dying in the shitter? I like this death though, with the implement, like the spear or spike or whatever going through the outhouse. It's kind of cool. Like I said, this movie has good moments to it and some good things in it, but overall, as a total package, it's disappointing. And that's the thing with me. I'm always unbiased when it comes to movies. Always give my 100% honest opinion when it comes to film because if you're not going to, then what the hell's the point? You just nailed Miguel Nunez. Meanwhile, at the halfway house, The Slumber Party Massacre movies are movies that I want to get on Blu-ray as well. Part 2 and 3 are really hard to find because the Scream Factory Blu-ray is like really out of print and it goes for like a high price on Amazon. You gotta pay like 180 to like 200 to get the damn thing, which I can't afford. I can afford that if I want to. If I really want to go that high, I mean, if I really want to go the distance to get them, which I kind of do just to have them in my collection. So, but you can get them on eBay for like 60. So I'll probably just end up doing that. You can get the copy, the double feature copy of 2 and 3 on eBay for just 60. I'll probably end up doing that around tax time or something, just to get the set. Because part 1 you can get easy, but 2 and 3 they're difficult. And Scream Factory is about to come out with another like Blu-ray copy of Part 2, but it's going to be 1 and 2 instead of 2 and 3. So you'd still be fucked because you'd still have to find a copy of 3. So I'm just going to invest in the double feature of 2 and 3 that they did before. Just get it off eBay for like 60 something. Finally, the death of Junior the Retard is about to happen. I do like this decap right here with the meat cleaver. Like I said, some of these kills work, but they also repeat the meat cleaver death with the stuttering dude, and it's very watered down and edited for TV type kill. It's like an off-camera hit. And the death for Ethel here is really lame too, because it's just like a close-up of the cleaver going in her head with like barely, I think, a spot of blood. But yeah, I'm glad Junior's been taken out here, because he was getting annoying. You've just been cleavered. Yeah, very small blood spurt, very quick shot. You can tell that was heavily edited by the MPAA, which is a shame. I do think some more intense deaths in this movie or whatever would amplifies the fun of it. Or I guess not so much intense deaths, but just more gory. Because this film's just really starting to feel very paint by the numbers and watered down. Of course, Pam's vehicle is randomly out of gas, which is another lame cliche. Here we got some footage from an old ass Paramount movie. You gotta feel sorry for this stuttering dude. Which I'm like, the dude just stutters. Is that a reason enough to put him in like an halfway like mental institution type place? Or mental asylum type place or whatever? I guess it's not really a mental asylum. Whatever the hell a halfway house actually is, I'm not for sure. But is that really a reason to put him in a place like this? Not, doesn't seem that way. And this other chick doesn't seem like she has shit wrong with her. Come on, show some compassion for the dude. He just wants to admit that he wants to bone you. So we're almost through with this one here, which I always like to say that every time I get near the end of every movie when I'm doing a commentary. Got about like 29 minutes left. There's that inappropriate laughter. She sealed her fate in this flick. And he sealed his flick by being, his fate by being a puss. Which, of course, it is understandable, though, why he is upset. But at the same time, Jason does not tolerate crying over insecurities, man. Even though this isn't Jason. Roy doesn't tolerate it either. Positively no handball playing in the hallway. Pretty sure that says in the hallway at the bottom of that sign there. Apparently they've had a problem with handball. Here's Tiffany Helm being hot here. You see she has a slightly different build than the other chicks. She's not like overly thin, or not overly thin. The other chicks aren't really overly thin, but she's not like the standard like real thin look. She's got a little bit of thickness to her, but not in a bad way. But yeah, Tiffany Helm is still really hot here. Yeah, the chick from Psycho 3 is about to bite it. Reggie the Reckless is passed out on the couch here. I'm pretty sure the actor Shavar Ross or whatever who plays Reggie the Reckless was also in what was it, Different Strokes? Was that the one with Gary Coleman? I know he was in one of those. He was also supposed to come back for part 6, I believe. He was going to be the friend of Tommy's at the beginning of the opening. He was going to be the dude that got his heart punched out or whatever. But when they couldn't get the actor back, I guess they just decided not to do that and just decided to take off any ties to like part 5. When they also couldn't get Shavar Ross or John Shepherd back or whatever who played Tommy in this. But to me, it's like, what? I mean, you could have still just had another random new actor be there to play the Reggie character for the opening. I mean, it didn't really have to be Shavar Ross because the character would have been older by then. You could just recast it. Gotta see them boobs. They look cute. They're small but cute. Like I said, I like all sizes, baby. She's about to get the standard Jason impalement from under the bed. You would think, though, that she would have, as she was walking over to her bunk bed, she would have seen the other dude, or seen Jason, I mean Roy, seen Roy underneath her. Of course, she also has a body laying next to her right here as well of the stuttering dude, which you also think she would have noticed. But once again, this kill here with the machete blade coming up through the bottom of the bunk, it's too quick. It's way too quick and too fast and just too plain of a kill at this point in the movie. There's not enough variety and cleverness to the kills here, unlike Part 4, which was like the highlight of the series thus far in terms of kills. See, way too quick. In Part 3, you saw the blade like go all the way through the chick and out her chest. Way cooler than what you got here. In my personal opinion, oh yeah, before I get to that, This dance sequence right here, like kind of like the robot or whatever, mixed with voguing, that's done by Tiffany Helm as the character Violent, is really cool. It's one of the highlights of this movie and automatically takes you back to the 80s, this whole breakdancing sequence. And this song by Pseudo Echo is really cool. I think that's also like a picture of Danny Elfman back in his Oingo Boingo days over there on the wall, which is also cool. But yeah, Tiffany Helm's got a hot bod right here. Shame they couldn't get her naked as well. Oh shit, here comes Roy. And once again, Violent's death right here is also extremely lame. It's just too quick. It's like the Roy stabbing a pillow. You see, that's way too quick, way too lame. They should have had something more creative. I think originally she was going to be doing like a handstand and he was going to like swing the machete down or an axe down one like between her legs or whatever. I think they took that out because they realized that even might, or they thought that might be too much for the movie or whatever. But if you're going to go the exploitation way that this film's going and embracing, might as well just go all out. The discovery of the bodies in traditional Friday the 13th fashion. Part 6, the one after this, really feels like someone's taken the Friday the 13th property and really trying to make like a movie out of it instead of just like a standard Friday the 13th movie. And that's why that one's like probably the best in the series. And I think it's my personal favorite at this point in terms of in terms of like my life or whatever. And at this point, Part 6 I do think is the best in the franchise because of the fact that the director kind of elevates the property with that one and does and treats it like a full-fledged film and tries to have a big overarching plot and all that instead of just another like people come to the woods, Jason takes them out kind of thing. Even though you still get that, but you get a lot more effect sequences and things like that, or action sequences and stuff like that in Part 6. So it just really elevates that one. So yeah, truthfully, you could totally skip this one and go straight to 6 if you wanted, which is the better movie. But like I said before, as a completist, I would still see this one. And I like the blue triangles, that blue accents or whatever on the hockey mask to let you know that it's not actually Jason. If you're paying attention, that's a good clue. If you followed along the movies until now. But what I was going to get to a while ago is that I do think the Nightmare on Elm Street series, in terms of horror, and horror is my favorite genre along with action, but horror is number one for me. I do think, in terms of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, I think that is the best slasher franchise, like quality wise, in terms of overall quality, of like consistency in terms of execution for what each one of those movies was going for and stuff like that, and all together like in terms of quality. Because Part One's a masterpiece. Part Two, I think, is a good standalone slasher movie. It's just not a good Nightmare on Elm Street movie. As a Nightmare film, it's just kind of all right, but it's still not bad. Part Three, once again, is like another masterpiece. Um, Part Four is a great, fun popcorn B movie. Part Five, I've actually warmed up on when I did my commentary for Part Five of Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I called it like decent. I've warmed up to that one just for the gothic visuals alone and the fact they're trying to do something different for it. In terms of like being a horror slasher flick, I'll probably give that one a 3 out of 4 now. I actually have warmed up to that flick just for the visual wise and the gothic tone and style of it. It's still not a great movie, but for what it is and what they're going for, I think it's a good slasher flick. It's just not up to par with like the fun of Part 4 or the really amazing writing of Part 3. But as a slasher flick with the gothic visuals and all that, I can have a good time with it in terms of entertainment value. And in Part 6, Freddy's Dead, when I did the commentary for that one, I really hated it. I think I gave it like a 1.5, which truthfully it is a bad movie, but just in terms of like the Robert Englund performance and all that, I can have an okay time with it now. Like, I would give it a 2 out of 4 now. And a New Nightmare, of course, is a masterpiece. Freddy vs. Jason, I've really warmed up to more over the years as well. I think it's an awesome, fun popcorn movie. The remake is atrocious of A Nightmare on Elm Street, but yeah, in terms of like overall quality, I think A Nightmare on Elm Street is the most consistent in terms of the execution of each movie. And for what they're going for. I think Halloween might be the worst in terms of overall consistent quality of movie to movie. Of course, we saw the death of the dude from Indiana Jones, and here we get Gramps thrown through the window. Which just kind of seems lazy. You get 2 off-screen kills, just like randomly thrown in here. Felt like the dude who runs the place should have been like a bigger impact to the plot or whatever, that maybe he should have been saved for an actual on-screen death. And of course, the character Pam, Melanie Kinnerman, is wearing the white see-through t-shirt in the rain, which it does work well here. Oh shit, Roy's a-coming. I hate how she falls and she doesn't even like try to get back up hardly. And of course it's slick and muddy and she's a little traumatized, but she doesn't put forth much effort here. And I hate that she just basically gives up. But luckily Reggie's coming to the rescue with a friggin' bulldozer to run Roy's ass over. Man, he plowed his ass. Now, of course, here they could sneak in, they could just grab the machete, really, and then just hack the shit out of the killer who's laying on the ground. Which, they do this all the time in horror movies where they have a chance to take the dude out, but then they don't take it. Instead, they just take their time staring at the dude. Or hell, they even could just, like, run off right now. I mean, he's knocked out for quite a few seconds here. They could run off and, like, be running up a road and shit, trying to get some type of authorities. Instead, they just kind of sit around and stare at him until he wakes up, which is predictable. Of course, the way Roy like checks his stomach wounds and all that, the way this character is shot, he's much more human looking and acting than Jason was in the other 4 movies. Like Jason in the first 4 movies is meant to be like a Hills Have Eyes, like mentally handicapped or retarded or whatever, super being out in the woods who can just take a lot of damage because of his deformities and stuff. That gives him that redneck psycho strength. And of course, starting in Part 6, we get Super Zombie Jason. This character right here is more like an early version of Michael Myers or something. He doesn't act very. He doesn't act like really Jason-ish. He seems much more of like a standard stalk and slash human killer in the way he moves. I think the actor who plays him for most of it is Tom Morga, a stuntman who actually played Michael Myers as well. So it makes sense. in terms of his body language. She has the chainsaw. Of course, Tommy is a red herring here because he's disappeared for a lot of the movie right now. So you think, well, maybe Tommy's the killer. If only. It would be better than Roy. And of course, coincidentally, the chainsaw runs out of gas. She knocks him down with it, though. Oh shit, the killer's not Tommy. Of course, Tommy thinks he might still be hallucinating at this point, and then lo and behold, he gets slashed. He isn't. It's not a hallucination. Of course, here comes the plot device knife or whatever set up in Act 1. Oh, stabbed in the thigh. Oh, shit, that had to hurt. Tommy no longer can whip out his judo moves because he got sliced. Thinking he was looking at another Jason hallucination. Tommy's climbing up the ladder here to get up here to Pam and Reggie. I have to assume that the top of this ladder is like nailed to the hayloft or whatever. Because if it isn't, then why couldn't they just push it down when the Roy Jason imposter was climbing up it? So I have to assume it must be nailed down at the top. Oh shit, he spotted Reggie. Come on, Pam. Reggie to the rescue. Don't get close to the edge. That was so predictable. I like that Tommy is eventually the one who takes out Roy. So he's killed 2 serial killers in the last few years. Having the killer be Roy is lame as hell. Here comes the movie's explanation. I do like the unique idea of a Jason copycat killer. That's kind of a unique way to go about it for a sequel. Of course, Roy's motivation is so piss poor. I like the idea that they tried to tie it back to another dead kid like Jason was in the first movie, but it's so piss poorly written here. And when a movie is not like is not like a. The thing is, when it comes to movies, if you aren't entertained by them, you will pick apart the flaws more. If this was a more fun Friday the 13th type movie, you wouldn't be noticing the flaws as much as you do here. But this movie focuses more on the exploitation of the nudity and stuff, and the kills are almost completely secondary for most of the sequences. And when you do get them, they're extremely watered down and cut down. Which, in turn, is not the director's fault, but still, that's the finished result, so it is what it is. We have to end this with a dream sequence. Or have a dream sequence in the ending, at least. So, thus far, all the movies have had one except for Part 4. That was because they wanted to really make you think it wasn't going to be the final one. Even though it wasn't the final one, of course. Hence, Part 5. Aw, Tommy looks so peaceful. Everything is okay. Oh shit, or is it? I would have liked if the movie just ended here with the surprise of like Tommy going crazy. Even though it is kind of predictable at this point in the movie, I would have liked it if it would just ended here with him just like stabbing the shit out of her. It is kind of lame that it's just a fake out dream ending. And here we get the actual ending, of course. Technically, you could say that Jason is in this movie. I mean, because, well, I mean, he is kind of just because he's in flashbacks and stuff, or hallucinations. But you could even say, like, it's the ghost of Jason trying to take Tommy over or something if you really wanted to. Like, Jason's evil spirit is after Tommy now. Now, why the fuck would they put the dead killer's mask in Tommy's hospital room? Once again, the writing here is the worst of the first 5 movies. It is terrible in places. I do like the implication of this ending, though, coming up here, where it ends with you thinking, oh, Tommy is going to be the killer. He is going to kill Pam. Of course, they go completely back on this in part 6, but for the ending of this, I actually like this. Yeah, okay time waster. Easily the weakest of the first 5, but an okay time waster still for me. I can still have an okay time with it. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you again with Jason Lives.